Hey guys, welcome back to AAA Farms. I'm James. Today we're back on the Nissan Titan 2008 model. We're going to be changing out the wheel bearing on the driver's side rear end. Let's get started. Since we will be jacking up the truck and we got to worry about it rolling, we got to make sure to block up our tires. And for extra safety, we're going to do all three tires that we're not going to be working on. Because we definitely don't want to find out what happens if this does move while we're working on the truck. I was hoping to use my impact on this, but it decided it wanted to bite the dust today. So I'll have to work on that in a little while, but right now let's just use this breaker bar and get this job done. Move our tire out of the way. Alright, so now we got our tire out the way. The first thing we got to get off is this brake caliper. We're going to take that and hang it so this lines don't get damaged. Replace it a spot to where the tubes won't get damaged. So the next step, there's four nuts we got to break back here. There's two here and there's two on the bottom. It's 18 millimeter. On these bottom ones, I busted this one loose with the ratchet, but pretty much as soon as you bust it loose, you can't get it out because it's plate. So you're going to want to use a wrench for this one. Alright, we got everything freed up now. Everything's unbolted from the back. Normally your brake disc here would normally just slide off. This one's been on here a while and it's kind of rusted in spot. I tried knocking it free with this dead blow with no avail. But for me to pull this axle, this doesn't have to be out of the way. So I'm going to go get my slide hammer. We'll hook it up and we'll just pull all this at once. And once we get pulled up, we'll be able to get to the back of this a lot easier with the dead blow. Right now there's this little thin dust shield behind it. So let's open up the new slide hammer and go from there. Okay, now that we got everything loose, the next thing we got to do is get our brand new slide hammer opened up. This is a Maddox, came from Harbor Freight. I haven't used it yet, so I can't really tell you if it's good or not. I'm assuming it will be. Haven't had any complaints from the Maddox brand. We had a couple different little tools around here. They all work great. Comes with your directions, a little foam pad. These little nuts were loose in here. We'll just put those back on the bolts. What we need is this axle puller and obviously the hammer itself. Quality seems to be pretty good on this stuff. So we'll get everything put on the truck and get this knocked out. So we'll take that axle puller part of the slide hammer and slide it over two of the lug bolts there. Throw our lug nuts on. Get everything snugged up. Then we'll slide our hammer on, thread it on. All right. Let's see how many pulls we have to do to get this thing to pull out. Two pulls. Oh, one thing I meant to mention, you want to throw your oil pan under here. There will be some oil dripping out. If there ain't, your day just got a lot worse. So now I got that all freed up, I'm just going to pull these lug nuts off. Man, that makes life easier, guys. This came from Harbor Freight, like I said earlier. It's a Maddox brand. It's a 5-pound stud hammer. Did cost $100 bucks. So pretty expensive, but well worth the money for what it is, and it makes that job a lot easier. So I highly recommend getting one if you can. If not, you can take a dead blow, or if you're fine with sacrificing this, you can, and if yours will come off, you can actually take this off, turn it around so that this is backwards. Put your lug nuts in and just basically hit this on each side until it frees up. But that will take you a little while. So let's get this axle pulled off and see what we got. Now that we've got the axle out the truck, we're going to come out here and see if we can get this brake caliper off. There we go. Let's move back into the shade before the camera shuts off again. Alright, first thing we got to do is a big snap ring right here. We need to take it off. You can get it open wide enough. Okay, we'll make sure we do not lose that, because I did not buy another one. Got to looking at these bearings down here, and there's just a lot of grit, which is very concerning. Get a better shot of this for y'all so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Y'all see all that grit and just nastiness? All that was on there when I pulled it out. Pretty sure I made a comment about that looks nasty in the video when I was pulling the axle out. That's what I was talking about. That's not really what you want to see. So that's a little concerning. But let's get to it and we'll change this out, and if this doesn't fix our problem, then we'll start on the next one. Alright guys, I kind of want to give y'all a quick update really quick. Doesn't look like I'm finishing this project today. So I do have the grinder out, which the grinder I'll use that and pretty much cut almost completely through the spacer, same with the wheel bearing. And then I'll take this cold chisel and crack that, which I'm going to show all that, not trying to skip out on y'all. But before the storm hits, because we have a storm rolling in, I want to show y'all a little something. So with this shaft, there's multiple wheel bearings for it, because this is kind of a year model when they started swapping to a superior axle, basically is what they're saying. So what I wanted to show you was, got my calipers here, and so that shaft right there has got a 1.73 inch diameter right here. The wheel bearings that I ordered that said it was for this truck, if we come in and measure this ID, it's 1.55. It's the wrong wheel bearing. So there's multiple wheel bearings for this truck. I believe 3. There's a 1.56, a 1.71, I think, and then I don't know what the third one is. It looks like we need the 1.71, because you're not gonna make this thing spread 200 thousandths. It just ain't how that's gonna work. So I'm going to get everything covered up and get ready for the storm. I'm going to show y'all what I'm going to do, because it does look like it's raining. I can hear the thunder in the background. If I look to the south, it's very dark and cloudy. I'll give y'all a quick shot of that real quick. Alright, I don't know how well that's coming across on the camera, not, but there is very dark clouds coming from the south blowing towards us, which if y'all follow the channel, y'all know that we're a farm first. That's kind of the whole point of AAA Farm. Definitely need the rain, ain't complaining. I'm perfectly okay with it raining because it is super dry. We've been in a drought, grass ain't growing, and I'm really getting concerned about getting hay this year, which I don't cut my own hay yet. I do have a hay guy, but the grass just ain't growing because it's so dry right now. So we're not complaining about the rain. All right, let's get this truck ready for the rainstorm. As far as the shaft itself, I'm just gonna leave it on the table. I'll close the shed up. That should be fine. The actual axle, what I'm gonna do is take a trash bag and cover that. Let me get everything set up and I'll show you. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, you cover this axle up to try to keep water out, because that's a big concern of mine. Obviously we don't want to get water in there. Got just a trash bag. I cover it up like that and take some electrical tape. I'm just gonna wrap this up tightly with this electrical tape. And the whole point of this is try to keep any water from getting in this axle, which is a really big concern. That should keep water from getting in there. It should keep the bags from coming off. It also kind of keep the oil in there, which whatever. But these are just kind of little nitpick tricks you got to learn when you ain't got a shop like I do. I know there was a thunderstorm coming in. I'd actually postponed this project already before last weekend because we were supposed to get some rain that never did come, which, you know, sucked. So I decided to go ahead and go for it this weekend. However, it decided that it is actually going to rain, which is perfectly fine because, like I said, we don't have the right parts to finish the job, and we really do need that rain. So I'm going to go figure out parts and get that ordered, see where I can get them from, and then I'll pick up the video from that point. See y'all then. Alright guys, I got the part ordered, got it here. Took a few days to find it, but basically I ended up getting it off of eBay. The guy had the whole set with everything that I needed, so I ordered it. It says quality Japan. I don't know. There's no real other brand to it. There's just part number here. But in this back, once I figured out, if you have a 2008 and newer Nissan Titan, it's a set 80 bearing, wheel bearing. Everything before that is a set 10. The set 10 is way too small to fit on the shaft. But this kit comes with the bearing spacer, which is right there, and then the seal. All this on eBay was $50. And the guy got it shipped pretty quick. It took a few days, but I've been at work and it's the weekend, so I can actually work on this thing now. So the next step we got to do is we got to cut this off and this off, and basically we're going to cut deep enough to where we don't scar or we don't cut through and get on the actual shaft, and then we'll take our cold chisel and finish breaking that the rest of the way. I'll show all that. Let's get everything set up and ready to go. Protection wise, got the space shield. It's a weld hood, but it has a grind mode to it. Using a Metabo, you always want to use something to at least protect your eyes, because they can shatter. They've shattered on me before. And then just some gloves to make it a little bit more safe, make sure we don't burn ourselves or get hung up anyhow. What we're going to do is we'll cut this off first, and pretty much you just cut at an angle. You'll do the same thing on this bearing here too. cut that and it had enough stress under it to where it actually cracked on its own. Let me go get the chisel and a hammer, and we'll crack that one off, and then we'll finish with this. Get in here and get that cut. Alright guys, we got everything cut off. Didn't realize the camera had died. It didn't die, it overheated, so kind of lost everything. I think y'all saw me get the ring off. It was pretty much a repeat of cutting the bearing off. So this is your inner race. It sits like that, right there. And this comes in where your actual roller bearings ride. Once I got this piece cut off and took it off, and this was still on there, I was able to slide the seal and this bracket off over this, which made the access a lot easier getting in. And I never was able to get this to fully crack, but I got it to crack most of the way. And then I took my chisel and I was able to catch this corner here and basically hammer it down. And once it got clear of where that ring goes, it slid right on off. Looks like we did a pretty good job. We didn't scuff up the axle or anything. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we'll slide our bracket off for the time being, or down, and then take our towel, kind of clean all this nastiness away. Got a little bit of grease here. We'll apply just a very thin layer of grease to this. Basically, just whenever we go to press everything on, it makes it a little bit easier to get on there. Not going heavy just then. Stand this up, make it a little bit easier assembling everything, I think. Make sure your bracket's on. Then we'll open our box of goodies. Make sure I got a good camera angle. So we got our box of goodies. This first bit has the seal, the spacer, and a new snap ring. That's everything that's in this bag. So before you ever disassemble anything, I always make sure you take a picture so you know it goes back. The seal goes this way, with that going inside the bracket right there. Got a much tighter seal here now than what we did. Looking at the old one, it looks kind of boogered up on the inside. Next part is take out our wheel bearing here. This wheel bearing comes pre-greased, so if yours ain't greased already, you want to add some grease to it. Everything seems to move pretty good. You want this exposed end down, or your outer race up, so it's going to slide down like that. And then that's going to come to a stop. And then the next piece is your bearing spacer. the cone goes up, or this way basically. So it's going to go just like that. So now we got everything situated. We'll move over to the 12-ton hydraulic press and press that in place. I'll get that set up. Alright guys, got everything set up finally. Had to do a little slight modification. That little bracket down there was in the way, so I loosened the bolts on the outer part and kind of just rotated it back. Hoping it holds up. We're about to find out. Let's get this pressed in. Alright guys, I'm back. Had to go check on kids. Let's see. I think that might be it. Probably seated all the way in. Looks like maybe a little bit more. Okay, I think we're all the way in. Back it all the way out. And a little closer inspection. Looks like we're all the way in. Cool. So we'll finish getting it off of here. We got to pull out the outer race out of the axle hole, I guess, the rear end. You know what I mean. So let's get the slide hammer set up. We'll do that. Then we'll get to slide this one back in. And hopefully our squeak goes away. Oh, we got to put the snap ring on this too. So let's do that now. And now we'll take our new snap ring, slide it on down the shaft, just like so. You could probably just press that down into or push it down into it. I'm just going to use snap rings to make it a little bit easier. Or snap ring pliers, I guess. Okay, we are seated all the way around. Cool. So since we were able to fit our snap ring in, means everything's pressed to the correct depth. So now let's get that outer race out of the rear end with the slide hammer. And then the next step will be to slide this piece in. I'm still a little bit debating. Let me kind of move some of the stuff out of the way. But if y'all see all that nastiness came out with the bearing. So I'm debating on what to do. I mean, no matter what, about to slide this puppy back in. We'll check, make sure everything right there looks good, you know, where we're going to slide it in. But I'm debating on removing the rear differential to inspect everything in there. If you look at the splines on this, everything looks fine, you know. So I doubt that's a problem. But that was a lot of nastiness that came out with that. So what I might do is slide this in and drive it and see if our squeak goes away. And if our squeak doesn't go away, I think I'm going to remove the rear differential cover and inspect all that. Alright, let me get everything ready. Alright guys, I got my 3 jaw attachment on. I actually want to start tightening it down. I'll show you a little better image here in a second on how that works. But during that process, tightening it down, the race already started moving. So I don't suspect it's going to take a whole lot to get this out. Well, maybe it will. Not a whole heck of a lot. That's what your race looks like, or the outer race. It's the same piece that's on that one there. This jaw setup, there's a 3-jaw setup that came with this. There's also a 2-jaw setup. I went with the 3-jaw because I want to maximize the points that I could grab, because I honestly thought it was going to be a lot harder than that. However, I was wrong. It's good to be wrong about those kind of things. Anyway, it's a pretty sweet little setup. You got the 3 jaws here, and you had this little black deal you put on first. Anyway, this piece is separate, but as you loosen it on the threads or bring it further up on the threads, it allows your jaws to shrink down, and if you tighten it down, it forces them to spread apart. And so basically, you know, you'll get it on whatever you want, tighten it down, and then that's one less thing you gotta worry about, so jaws slipping out, and you can just focus on the slide hammer part of it. So extremely pleased with this tool. I really wish I had this tool on other jobs that I've done in the past. Just makes life a lot easier. But ain't no sense in talking about that. Let's get this axle put back in, so hopefully we can get this issue fixed. Get a little bit more leverage. And throw this side hammer on here. Not necessarily hit it in, just give me a little leverage on this end. There we go. Use a little tap with the side hammer. Make sure everything's kind of pushed in. Now we'll get our nuts, put them on. We're going to torque them down, and we'll start assembling everything else back together. Alright guys, I got everything torqued to 87 foot-pounds. I lost the camera to heat, but just to show that we do have everything at 87, I have them go through and click this. Seven. Kind of situate y'all a little bit different. Let me get over here. Seven. And last but not least, this top one, kind of pain in the butt to get to because that bracket's in the way. But if we play with it just right, we can get it on there. 87. Okay. So I got all that torqued down. Okay, slide our rotor back on. We will grab our caliper, feed it back around. So we got our axle back in, everything bolted down. So we got our rotor on, brake caliper on. Only thing left to do now is to put the tire back on, torque everything down on the tire, lower the jack, and take it for a road test. And hopefully we get rid of that squeaky noise. I'm pretty confident that it was the wheel bearing, because the wheel bearing did have a lot of crud in it and flakes and everything. and I didn't see that inside the hole, so hoping that's it. If not, we'll figure it out. 31. 131 foot-pounds is the spec for the lug nuts. Now we're done with everything here. We'll remove the jack and take it for a test drive. So last step, we want to make sure we top off our differential oil. Nothing too crazy looking in here. This engine oil, not engine oil. Oh, it's been a long day, guys. Rear differential oil. This uses SAE 75W140 gear oil. So basically, you just fill it up until you get some coming out like that, and throw your plug back in. And you want to make sure to just tighten it back up. Alright. Let's get in the truck and see if we got rid of all that noise. If not, on to the next thing. Alright, let's see what happens. I'm really hoping that squeak's gone. We got rid of the vibration with the U-joint that we replaced. So let's crank this Nissan up. It's been a little while since it ran, so. And then we'll take it for a spin. Hopefully everything's good now. It cranks up pretty good. Let's see what. Alright guys, we finally got rid of that squeak in the rear end. I drove it down the street. No noise is coming from back there. There is a little squeak coming from the front that I'm going to try to take a look at sometime, maybe tomorrow morning. I hope y'all learned a little something today. If you like these kind of videos, please like and subscribe. Other than that, y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you for visiting me on the farm.